Hey guys, Fred and Sheila, we're back at you with part 3.
Hi guys, hope you're doing well.
We're going to finish up on this series here.
Yeah.
Asher quotes from his book. I thought, well, it's time now to clear the air. Asher told LEX 18, even though it's late, it's right. It's the right thing to do. What? 35 years later, after life insurance has been paid, was this insurance fraud? That's me talking. I'm asking. But right now, Sheila's going to play you something. We want you to hear this with your own ears and get your thoughts.
I thought, well, it's time now to clear the air. Even though it's late, it's right. It's the right thing to do.
LEX says in the book, Asher says that it was pressure from above within KSP that led to the case ultimately being called a homicide. Wow.
Higher ups, he called them.
Higher ups.
Asher claims he got pressure from those above him back then to investigate it as a homicide.
Wonder if anyone ever robbed a bank and pressured him not to arrest him for it. I'm being sarcastic, but trying to make a point. Asher says that this was a S side. Paid the insurance, they done all that, but this was a S side, and they covered it up by calling it a homicide. But he was pressured to go along with it. Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm-hmm. Post commander, post 11 for years, and he was pressured. I'm going to write you a ticket. What do you mean you're going to write me a ticket? I'm putting pressure on you not to. Okay, maybe I'll write the next person. Goes and gets in his car and leaves. Do you see how stupid that sounds? He was pressured. He's a law enforcement, sworn law enforcement officer. Sworn.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
To uphold the law.
To uphold the law. You don't have to be a former police officer to know that. He swore to uphold the law.
Yeah.
He was pressured. Did he go to the media? Did he go to the feds? Who did he go to? Who did he report this pressure to? This is wrong, but I've been pressured and I want to report this to somebody. Zero. He went to zero that we can find out. Zero. If we're wrong, please prove us wrong, Mr. Asher. WLX says, this was a war hero. This was a Vietnam veteran, I think is what they say. We'll hear it in a minute. We'll know.
I can play
the post commander of post 11, and he said he was pressured into going along with the homicide. Sad either way that he was that easily swayed away from doing the right thing or going along with the crowd. Actually, he's a disgrace, in my opinion, from what I've read in his book, in that chapter on Johnny Edrington and Mark Putnam, the next chapter. Disgrace. No respect for that man. I've took better people than that to jail in my career. The staff command, one of them went to the post before I even got back to the post and told investigators, if anybody here considers this anything other than a homicide, they don't need to be working at this post. Wow.
Yeah.
But Asher worked there for many years to come. Never once filing a complaint with the FBI, the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney's Office, Department of Justice. Never even once filing a complaint with the Kentucky State Police or going to the media. She's going to play that.
I'll add it in.
Command staff, one of them went to the post before I even got back to the post and told the investigators, if anybody here considers this anything other than a homicide, they don't need to be working at this post.
Yeah, if anybody here considers this anything other than a homicide, they need to be working. They don't need to be working at this post.
That's what he said.
He continued to work there. Did he consider it anything other than a homicide? He continued to work there for years and years and years to come. Real stand-up guy right there. At least in my opinion. Not. Edrington was killed with his own agency-issued firearm, and the gun was in his hand when he was found, Asher said.
Well, the logistics was he had the gun in his hand. There was no sign of a struggle. It was a contact wound. It was right here. He had the gun. The gun was still in his hand.
Mm.
He fell for the oldest book in the trick.
How did you said that backwards? Oldest book in the trick.
Did I really?
Yeah.
You should catch other things I say.
I'm sorry.
Oldest book in the trick.
Reverse that.
Asher fell for the oldest trick in the book.
There you go.
You know what I meant. They
Yes.
know.
They sure did.
Do you know the odds of shooting self and maintaining control of the gun when the body goes limp? Guys, do y'all know the odds of shooting yourself and keeping that gun in your hand? In his book, I think it says it's even pointing at him. It was in his hand and pointing at him. It was in the wrong hand. He's right hand dominant. The gun was in his left hand, which would be the way you're looking at him and you're thinking he's right handed.
Well, if you're in a hurry, you'll just
In a
place it
hurry.
wherever.
Body goes limp. But he said he done scientific research on that. We'd like to know what that was. How did he do that? How did he determine that he could shoot himself and fall and keep the gun in his hand? A limp body. Don't happen. We did a video on the odds of a person shooting herself up there rather than here or in the mouth.
You can't solve a homicide that didn't happen.
In the book, Asher says it was the unanimous decision of all those investigators, as well as the county coroner and assistant state medical examiner, that Trooper Edrington's gunshot wound was self-inflicted.
Unsinker was the associate state medical examiner at the time. He said that 3 separate gun residue tests were taken off Edrington's hands and that all 3 came back to show residue on his. Guys, that's pretty. All 3 of them. If that first test was contaminated, if a police officer that has a gun on his side or anything about it, guys, you know what? If I'm not mistaken, Sheila had just come to me right then.
What's that?
Holy smoke. I could be wrong. We'll have to look back through the reports and other videos. In that report, in Stewart's report, detective, it says the firearm was turned over to so-and-so. I think I know who it says, but I'm not going to speculate.
Okay.
One of our videos tells who the firearm was turned over to. And it was one of the people we've been talking about.
Okay.
Which is, I believe, the same person that done the powder residue test. The gun has just been fired. You take control, you take custody of that firearm. If that's true,
wow.
You've handled that gun, you put it in the trunk of your car in a bag or whatever you put it in to protect it. You've handled that gun, and then you go to the funeral home. Are you that much of a detective or that much of a specialist that you went directly and washed your hands, put your gloves on, and done these tests? See, it don't happen, guys. I've seen too many in years. I've seen police officers take gun residue, and they just pull the little packet out of the bag, open the packets, dump the swabs out, and start swabbing. They don't go wash their hands. They don't put gloves on. This man the powder residue that's on his hands didn't come from his gun belt. Didn't come from his own. He just handled the gun. He picked it up off Johnny's hands. Could I be right? I don't know. We'll research it.
Right.
I believe I am. And then she's going to play that right there.
Hunsaker, yeah.
In our search for answers, we went to the doctor who performed the autopsy.
There was no evidence to suggest to me that I was aware of that someone else did it.
Dr. John Hunsaker was the Associate State Medical Examiner at the time.
There were 3 different gunshot residue tests taken of his hands after he was discovered, which had abundant amounts of residue.
Laughable. If one was taken, especially by a layperson, then contaminated the other 2. Don't matter if you take 3 or 9. they're all going to be the same. If you
Exactly.
contaminated it on the first one, the rest of them's going to be contaminated. The rest of them's going to have gun residue. Why 3? There was either powder residue or not. Why did they decide to take another? And then after they took another one, they said, well, wait a minute, let's take another one. They took 2 there.
Yeah.
Just proves his hands were near the blast or someone contaminated the sample.
Yeah,
We don't know. We don't know which one. Hunsinger said he initially listed the manner of death as undetermined. You're going to hear him say that.
I'll play that.
He says after conducting the autopsy, he initially listed the manner of death as undetermined.
Undetermined. On these Facebook pages, you hear him say, he ruled it. Hunsinger ruled it. A medical examiner ruled it. No, he never did.
Yeah.
He's saying 35 years later, after Asher's wrote his book, trying to support what Asher's saying, in my opinion. But he said here that he initially ruled it undetermined, which is what it should have been if he couldn't decide. And then do more tests, more experienced people, which is what was done. And they said homicide. That was the proper call. If he couldn't decide with proof either way, if he couldn't decide a S-side or a homicide, the proper thing to rule it was undetermined. He did it right. He said he named it undetermined. He said, she asked him something about it. He said, well, I think they knew which way I was leaning. Leaning and calling it that to put on a death certificate's 2 different things. You have to have more than an opinion to put it on a death certificate. S-side is a homicide. LEX asked Hunsinger if it was possible Edrington's death was a homicide. Sure, it's possible, Hunsinger said. Can you absolutely rule it out? I don't think you can rule it out. You're going to hear it. She'll play it.
Oh, yeah. I'll touch it.
He asked him if it was possible Edrington's death was a homicide.
Well, possible is a pretty weak standard, but sure, it's possible. Can you absolutely, quotes, absolutely rule it out? And I don't think you can absolutely rule it out.
Sure, it's possible, Hunsinger said. Can you absolutely rule it out? I don't think you can rule it out. This is the man, the doctor, that Asher and the Phelpses say have overwhelming evidence from even when he himself is in doubt and undetermined that it was a homicide or suicide. Because he said undetermined. He couldn't decide. But they say there's overwhelming evidence from the medical examiner, from the ME. Well, the ME ruled it undetermined. He's right there on television. You just heard it. Should have. Do we discredit a person with evidence like this? Overwhelming. Doug Asher says the evidence is overwhelming. I say my rear end. My rear end. No overwhelming evidence there, guys. Even the medical examiner says undetermined. Leaning a certain way and marking something down on paper, he says undetermined. If you look on that death certificate, it says accidental, suicide, homicide, undetermined, natural, something else, but undetermined, he says. Reached out to Edrington. LEX says they reached out to Edrington's daughter to make her aware of the story. She said that the family had no comments. That would have been Callie, Johnny's daughter, Johnny and Diane's daughter, who Diane didn't become pregnant with until about 8 months after he was divorced from his first wife, and about 6 months after Johnny and Diane became married on June the 3rd. They became pregnant on November the 1st. She became pregnant.
She took the test, yeah.
And 9 months later, on July the 5th, Callie Edrington was born.
I reached out to Edrington's daughter to let her know about the story. She told me the family had no comment.
No comment. Out of the blue, you receive a call that a Kentucky state trooper has written a book about your father, who was killed. Now, he's saying it was a suicide 35 years later. No doubt, no comment. The girl was probably in shock.
I would be.
I say girl, this is a young lady. This is a mature woman now with children,
Right.
with grandchildren of Johnny's and Diane's.
Mm-hmm.
Probably in shock. Somebody calls you up and says, hey, Doug Asher says your dad's killed himself. You got any comment? Well, so sad. The truth is the only way to go, Asher said. Even if it's ugly, it's hard to deal with. The easiest way out of everything is just to tell the truth.
The truth is the only way to go. Even if it's ugly, if it's hard to deal with, the easiest way out of everything is just to tell the truth.
What a joke. The truth was the way to go 36 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
36 years ago.
Okay.
36 years ago. The truth's the way to go. He writes a book 35 years later. Way to go's the truth. Who do you tell the truth to back then? Who do you report it? What agency? Please, I'd love to see a report from the FBI that he filed a complaint with the FBI or the Justice Department or the United States Attorney's Office or anybody. It didn't happen. You can go to 4 sheriffs arrested as FBI closes drug protection trap. You can Google that. LA Times says Lexington, the sheriffs of 4 counties, was arrested. Detained were Lee County Sheriff Johnny Mann, 39, Breathitt County Sheriff Dean Spencer, 46, Wolfe County Sheriff Lester Drake, 51, and Owsley County Sheriff Billy McIntosh, 57. Also arrested was Bettyville Police Chief Omer No and Wolfe County Deputy Wilson Stone. That is a case that come from Paul and I originally. After we turned from August, according to indictment, agents met with Mann in Lee County. He allegedly introduced them to the other law officers. From August of '89 until this month, the agents were paid more than $85,000.
Wow. Wow.
It tells about the story, but from August of '89, just so happens, guys, look at the newspaper when Paul and I went public. August the 7th, 1989. August the 7th, 1989. That was the biggest day in our life, one of them. Because we, young detectives, young officers, put it all on the line. But after we did that, August the 7th of '89, somebody called us within the next 3 days because we were fired on August the 11th, I think it was, 3 days later.
Yep.
And, but during that time, somebody had called us at the office and said, you guys are right on it. Your sheriff's getting his drugs from so-and-so.
Yep.
And I think the name they gave us was the Mann guy, Johnny Mann. And we made a trip to Pikeville to the FBI office, and we seen Ron Poole. Mark Putnam at that time had been transferred to Miami, Florida. They had gotten him out of there. He'd killed that girl, and they were trying to cover it up. The FBI, the state police, everybody covered that murder up. That girl would have been heard of from no more. Had Paul and I not went public with the media, I'm sorry, baby.
What about, baby?
I moved that thing around again. Had Paul and I not went public, that would have been swept under the rug. They didn't care about that girl if they ever found her or not, Susan Smith. But when we went public about the sheriff, they wanted to discredit that FBI agent that we had gone to. Yep. So the Commonwealth Attorney, John Paul Runyon, who was tied right in with Fuzzy Kazee, our sheriff, Commonwealth Attorney says, oh, we gotta try to solve this case. I heard this FBI agent may have had something to do with getting her pregnant. And so that's when the FBI comes back in the focus. But we went and told Ron Poole about what we were told on the phone about the sheriff also getting drugs from Johnny Mann and the sheriff down there.
Mm-hmm.
He investigated it and ended up arresting
and he was right.
4 of them. I don't know how many was convicted, how many was, I don't remember what happened. But you can Google it. That's just another one of our cases. We had some big cases over the years. We had an interesting law enforcement career. We had a interesting law enforcement career. We had an interesting relationship with the Kentucky State Police over the years. Some good friends, some not so good, some honest Kentucky State Troopers, some not so honest Kentucky State Troopers. Reminiscing. Guys, sorry, babe, you ain't clicked it yet, have you?
Nope.
For Johnny and Jimmy Phelps and Doug Phelps, thanks for replying, Doug.
Sure.
Please
Appreciate
continue
it.
to watch our videos. If you see something we say wrong or that you can help us with, we'd appreciate it. Appreciate your sister. She insulted us the other day, calling us ignorant rednecks, and that's okay. Like I said, I've not been, you can't call me nothing. I've never been called, and probably you two guys neither. But she did brag on us for finding Mr. Couch. At least she does know who found Mr. Couch rather than what Pennington and Burnett tried to say. So and the trooper, I've read a report since then, and even one of the troopers, I'm discouraging him because he also said that in his report, and him knowing nowhere near that body when we found him. In fact, he was asking on his way to us, is he on the left? Is he on the left? Because I'm over here standing on the left. Mr. Couch's body was across from me, but where he's looking where I'm at on the left-hand side of that hollow, he's thinking I'm looking down at his body. I was, but it was on the other side of the hollow. So he would have been on the right. But the trooper's asking, is he on your left? Is he on your left? No, he's actually on my right. It's okay. Thank you, guys. And no hard feelings, people. Let's work together.
Imagine what we can complete.
Let's work together. Let's solve this case. I'm like Doug. I don't agree with Doug. And I think some of the rumors have come up from just like the rumor of Diane's pregnancy, how easy it is to start a rumor, how easy it was for somebody that was mad at Johnny E at the time to start a rumor and say he got somebody pregnant while he was married. People. How low can you go? We don't have to be like that. We don't have to follow suit. We can take the high road, all of us. Let's find out one way or the other, Doug Phelps. Let's find out. I agree with you there. If it was Sheila and I don't know. We don't know no more than that's why we do need that file open. And all of us together, if we'll join forces, we might be able to get the state police to open that file.
Yeah.
Close it out or open it one.
Never know.
Okay, guys, you're up, baby.
All righty. Thanks for watching, guys. We hope you're doing well. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Bye. God bless.